Tim Couch. Big enough by himself. Tim, what's up?
Tim, welcome to the show. Who do you put the most blame on?
Oh, yeah, let's go, Tim.
We're playing the blame game on this
Let's
Monday.
get opinionated, Timmy.
Who gets the blame?
Man, there's a lot of blame to go around after a loss like that.
Who gets the biggest piece of blame pie?
I'm probably going with the defense. You know, even though they had a bunch of guys out on that side of the ball, Falcons ran the ball right down their throat in the second half. What, they going to like a 10-play, 75-yard drive, all runs? Like, you
with
know,
the practice players. With the practice players.
I thought the run fits were terrible. Guys were out of position. They were getting blown off the ball. You know, and the running back that came in was just activated off the practice squad, so it wasn't like he was some superstar back in the backfield. So that was tough to watch. I thought the offense, you know, they ran the football well. Jacoby, I think, played another really good football game. He's certainly exceeded my expectations of what I thought he was going to be in this offense. I think he's doing a really nice job and, you know, going to the right spot with the ball. He's accurate, shows a strong arm. But, it's, you know, like, again, like just like last week, a brutal loss, man. This team has let a couple games slip away now that they certainly should have won.
Is it Joe Woods to blame for the I mean, they did the same thing every time on 2 straight drives, and it was almost like the players had bags over their heads.
Yeah, you know, I don't see a lot of adjustments out there. I really don't. You know, it wasn't like the Falcons were trying to disguise what they were doing. You know, they're just lining up and saying, we're going to run it downhill until you stop it. And the Browns made no adjustments, man. They couldn't stop the run at all. And that's so demoralizing to a defense. You know, when you're just sitting back like that and a team's just saying, you know, we're going to run it at you and you can't stop it. There's nothing you can do about it. And they couldn't. So that was frustrating. You know, you certainly want to see some adjustments, see the guys step up and, you know, play a little bit more discipline with their eyes and be in the right spot. But, you know, we just haven't seen it so far this year, especially in the second half of games.
Hey, Tim, do you see the interior of the line? I mean, they're just getting manhandled up front, the interior defensive line. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is like Pee Wee Football League. I'm like, you're getting pancakes, smashed, everything else. And the dude off the practice squad just 2 days ago. All right, I'm gonna run for 70. I don't care.
That's crazy.
And they just kept giving the ball back. They're like, oh my God, they're letting him get 5, let him get 6, let him get. Tell me what prevents them from signing a guy like Ndamukong Suh. Please, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what stops them from going to get a guy like that. At some point, you got to make a move because, you know, you're exactly right. That interior is getting blown off the ball. They're getting no penetration into the backfield. They're not clogging up the gaps in the run game. So it's certainly been frustrating to watch, and they're going to have to evaluate that and see what's out there, see who's available, and hopefully they can make a move and shore this thing up because it's not going to get any easier. These next few games, man, are going to be brutal. The schedule gets really tough starting, you know, with the Chargers and so on. So they're going to have to get it fixed and get it fixed quickly.
Tim, I understand that Kareem Hunt is a better pass catcher than Nick Chubb. So you're going to want him when you're running two-minute offense or whatever down the stretch. Mm-hmm. However, my thought has been, why in that situation wouldn't you have both of them on the field?
Good point.
Knowing that Nick Chubb is your best player. You don't want to necessarily sit Kareem Hunt because, you know, Hunt, Chubb, and Cooper are your 3 best players. I would think in a 2-minute drill, even though it may be unorthodox to have 2 running backs in that situation, that you'd want those 3 best players when the rest of the Browns receivers are kind of mediocre at best. Is there any reason why he couldn't do that down the stretch? Why do you think Chubb is on the bench when the game is on the line occasionally?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a really good point. You know, you certainly want your best players out there. A lot of times in those situations, you're going, you know, more wide receivers on the field, more speed on the field. You're trying to get 3-4 wideouts out there. But, you know, like you said, if you get Nick Chubb out there, man, I would rather throw Nick Chubb a screen pass than I would trust in those other guys trying to run an out route or a corner route or a post or whatever. I want the ball in Nick Chubb's hands as many times as I can possibly get it there because that dude, man, he is so fun to watch. He is unbelievable. The way he is able to break tackles, the way he absorbs contact and just keeps his legs moving. I would get that ball. I would get that guy the ball in every situation possible. And I'm with you on that. Get both those guys out there. Adjust what you're doing offensively in a 2-minute drill. Adjust your philosophy. Get your best players on the field. Get the ball in their hands.
Right, and like you look at Kareem Hunt, who's such a premier pass catching running back. Like instead of having Anthony Schwartz out wide or some other, you know, David Bell, who's very inexperienced and hasn't done much, I'd rather split out Kareem Hunt or put Kareem in the slot and have Nick Chubb in the backfield. I think you're more likely to succeed that way.
Yeah, I think so. We've seen Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt lined up out wide a few times this year.
Yep.
Early in the season, we saw him out there. They were throwing him some slants. They were throwing him some hitches. And he catches the ball really well. He runs good routes for a running back. So he is kind of like an extra wide receiver out there. But he has that ability to make plays after the catch. And, both those guys on the field at the same time, man, is lethal. It's extremely hard to stop. And hopefully we can see a little more of it.
Hey, Tim, of course, you just raised a good point. I'm glad you said that. Why do you think it is so difficult, it's been difficult so far for Kevin to make these adjustments? Because at some point, we go through 3 quarters, we got a feel of the game now. It's not so much on the sheet. What is the eye test? To me, it seems like he's having difficulty with the eye test. Because after 3 quarters, I've seen pretty much what this thing looks like. Why is such difficulty making adjustments?
I'm not sure. There's, obviously a lot of talk about should he be calling the play? Should he hire someone to call the play so he can manage the game? I think Stefanski is an incredible play caller myself. I think he gets guys wide open. I love the way he designs plays. I like everything about his play calling now. I think he does need someone, maybe an assistant coach, to be a game manager of situations for him, because it's so difficult to try to call plays and think of down and distance and, what do they do in 3rd and short? Are they a man team? Are they a blitz team? Are they a zone team? All this is going through your head. You're trying to get a play call in before the play clock runs out. You forget about situations sometimes. So if he had an assistant coach there saying, hey, coach, like in the Jets game, it's hard to remember to tell Nick Chubb to go down. You're in that situation. You're trying to move the ball. You're trying to score. Just a quick reminder on the sideline. Hey, coach, tell him to go down. All we got to do is get a first down here. We can take a knee, run the clock out. So you can't think of everything at the same time, man. But I do really like the way he calls plays. I think he's a terrific play caller, very smart guy. I like the way he designs it, gets guys open. I just think he needs a little help as far as game management goes.
Tim, to me, I'll give Stefanski his credit. He's not some sort of novice. He could call plays. He diagrams plays well, right? My problem is this: on the defensive side of the football, at some point in time, you are responsible in a hierarchy of what is my defense doing. And I know you may like your coach. I know you may have hired him, but at the end of the day, do you see the Browns beating any high-level quarterbacks if they're busting? They've had a major bust every single game this year.
Yep.
It was 45 yards this time when the game's in the balance.
Against 4 bad quarterbacks.
How are we? Do you think we can beat Herbert and Burrow and Lamar Jackson if we're busting these coverages every week now?
No, there's no way. And, just like you said, we've seen it every week. Going back to the first game, we saw Baker throw whatever it was, 75-yard touchdown because of a busted coverage. We saw them lose games because of a busted coverage against the Jets. So it's been every week, man, and it gets really frustrating to watch. Like, you almost expect it now. You're watching these games and you're just waiting for that big play to happen because it's been so consistent with these guys. Their communication's not there. I don't know what's going on there in the defensive secondary, because they have some talented players back there. They're just not communicating. Guys aren't on the same page. And, when you're not talking, guys are going to get out of position. And, you're going to see what we've been seeing the last few weeks, and the guys getting behind the secondary for huge plays. So, no, there's no way they're going to be able to do that and beat a Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson or whoever they got coming up in these next few games. So they're going to have to get that fixed and get it fixed immediately.
Tim, settle a bet between me and Bull. Now, for most of the show, it's been me and Bull on everyone else, the 2 of us against the 3 of them, because they've lost their minds on Stefanski for the most part. But I did have a bone to pick on the opening drive. I did want him to kick the field goal because they got chunk play down to the goal line. They run a no huddle. They lose 2 yards on 3rd down. It's now 4th and 3. It's not 4th and 1. It's 4th and 3 from the 4. In my opinion, take the points, take the 3-0 lead, live to fight another day. You now have the lead in the game. Bull says absolutely not. You go for it every time.
His philosophy, I always go inside the 5. For me, I always go.
The analytics on the call say it's a coin flip. I take the points. What do you do?
I'm a guy who likes to take the points as well, because I just feel like, as a quarterback, when you drive down the field, you've had some success in that opening drive. You've hit a few chunk plays. You get down there inside the tight red zone. The drive stalls. You lose a couple yards. It's 4th and 3, and you don't get it. You go for it, you don't get it. It's kind of, you kind of get deflated walking off the field saying, damn, man, we didn't get anything out of that drive, man. It feels bad. When you go down and you get 3, you come off the sideline and you kind of feel like, well, I'd love to finish that drive with a touchdown, but we got 3. We've shown we can move the ball against these guys. We're going to be able to get chunk plays in the passing game. Let's come back out on the second drive and let's go get 7. So I like the feeling of walking off the field with some points on the board. I just hate that feeling of coming off with empty-handed, especially when you've had such a good drive like that.
Tim, I get why some people would argue that side. What drives me nuts, though, and nobody's doing it here, I don't think, but what drives me nuts is that people will say, well, they would have won the game if they would have kicked the field goal. That's stupid. The whole game would have been different. First of all, the Falcons ended up starting that drive from the 3-yard line or 4-yard line, whatever it was. They scored a field goal on that drive. Maybe if Browns had kicked the field goal and they had kicked off and the Falcons would have had the ball at the 25, maybe they would have scored a touchdown instead of a field goal. So, you never know how the game would have went from there. I get what you're saying. I understand why I know I'm in the minority opinion on this. A lot of the new, younger coaches like to go for it on 4th down all the time, especially inside the 5-yard line, because the analytics generally favor it. In this case,
it's
generally,
a coin flip.
In this case, it was a coin flip. But I get it. And the old school mentality is to kick the field goal, especially on the road.
Harbaugh and the Ravens got burned on it yesterday too.
Yeah, but you never point out when they do it, it works, and then they win because of it.
Well,
we never point that out
in the
because
moment
because nobody talks about it.
No, because if you win, all the warts are hidden. Nobody comes back and looks at
they
all
didn't
those
lose
decisions.
because of that either.
Not
The
saying
Bills
they
would have
lost
marched right
because
down
of
the
it.
field. They were marching down the field the second half.
And they did march down the field.
Yeah.
Harbaugh even said afterwards, hindsight, you'd love to take the points there. I think the game is switched to this Madden-style coaching where you go for it, you go for it, you
and
go
it
for
works
it, you go
more
for
often
it.
than it doesn't. Otherwise, teams wouldn't do it.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think last year the Chargers made some bonehead decisions in their final game of the regular season that cost them a trip to the playoffs.
Again, you probably ignored when it worked all season long.
No,
You
it worked all season. It worked against us.
Let's argue on our own.
It worked
Let's
against
bring
us
Tim
when the
back.
Chargers
Don't forget we got Tim here.
Yeah.
Tim,
Sorry, Tim.
G. Bush brought this up earlier, and I want you to talk about it because obviously quarterback play is your specialty. The quarterbacks that the Browns have played on way to a 2-2 record, Baker the fans there want him benched. Joe Flacco, he's not starting anymore. Mitch Trubisky, we won that game.
He's not starting
anymore.
Wow.
Marcus Mariota. So those are the 4 that we've played that we're 2-2 against. Here's the next 7. Herbert, the Patriots. We got a break there. Yeah. That's a game now that they should win. After the Patriots, you get the Ravens, the Bengals. You have a bye.
By the way, the
Dolphins, the Bills, and the Buccaneers.
By the way, the Buccaneers are 2-2. The Ravens are 2-2. The Bengals are 2-2.
Herbert's hurt.
The Chargers are 2-2.
Well, the Buccaneers are 2-2, but you always have to look at how they're at 2-2.
They're not playing well.
They lost
And
to
who
the
they
Chiefs
played?
and they lost to the Packers.
The Chiefs just lost to the Colts the week before.
Right. Well, the Browns have lost to the Jets and they've lost to the Falcons.
And the Packers don't look very good either.
You think Aaron Rodgers ain't gonna come in here and torch us? If
No,
he
they're
play-
not playing
Tim,
the
back to
Packers.
my question.
Yeah. They are playing better.
This is a quarterback. This is a gauntlet that the Browns are facing. What are you doing now if you're Kevin Stefanski and you're starting? Because 21 points hasn't been enough to win games. You're going to need to score a lot more than that when you're playing the quarterbacks that I just mentioned. How are they going to do that?
Yeah, there's no question. They got to get some more points out of the offense because you got to expect the way the defense has been playing, these first 4 weeks, you got to assume these quarterbacks are going to light up the scoreboard against these guys. So, but you get hopefully Jadeveon Clowney gets back. I'm not sure when he's supposed to be back. You get Miles back out there. Obviously, that's going to help and get some pass rush on these guys. But you're going to have to score some points. You got to get a little more production out of the passing game. I think Jacoby's played well, but he's been very conservative. Also, he is what we all kind of thought he was going to be. He's that game manager type of guy who's very good at going to the right spot with the ball. But we've seen him in 2-minute situations against the Jets, and we've seen him in a 2-minute situation against the Falcons, and he's thrown 2 interceptions in those situations. But I'm not really surprised about that because that's not who he is. He's not an aggressive quarterback. He's not going to go out and push the ball down the field and take chances. He's very conservative. He's going to take the easy throw most of the time. So when he gets in those situations and the windows get a little tighter and you got to really push the ball down the field, we see him turning the football over. But, he is who he is. I think he's doing a great job. He's staying within himself. But, at some point when you start to play these really good quarterbacks, Jay, like you said, you're going to go out and have to go out and go. You're going to have to match them, drive for drive. You got to assume they're going to score almost every time they touch the ball. So you got to go in with that mentality saying, I need touchdowns here. I got to go out and put points on the board if we're going to stay on the field with these guys. And field goals aren't going to cut it.
No, you better find some receivers. Not falling out of trees these days.
I'm looking at so the Browns have 8 games left against what I would consider good quarterbacks. That's if Tua plays, and if we do consider him a good quarterback, I don't know. So maybe it's 7. I would say 7. I don't think Tua's going to play, but I could be wrong. Bengals have 5 games left against good quarterbacks. The Ravens have 1.
We've had 4 games against subpar quarterbacks.
That is correct. So Bengals have had 3, actually 4, because Tua got hurt in the first half.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Tim, to your point, I'm guessing, it's a guess, that the way you want to do this is ground control offense. Run the ball. Have drives that take up 7 and 8 minutes. Your best chance of beating all of these great quarterbacks is to make sure that they have a baseball hat on more than they have a football helmet on.
Yeah, exactly. You want to lean on your best players. You want to get Chubb the ball even more. Keep that clock under control. Run the play clock down. Snap it with 2 or 3 seconds on the play clock every time. And then when you get the opportunity to take those shots in the passing game, get it going down the field. Some of these receivers are going to have to step up. Peoples-Jones and these guys are going to have to start making some plays because like we saw this week or last week. They're going to key on Amari Cooper now. They're not going to let him go out there and get 10 catches every week. They're going to double him. They're going to make somebody else beat them. And until somebody steps up and does that, the passing game is going to struggle. I think Njoku's doing a really good job in the passing game. He's a walking mismatch out there. They need to start going to him even more. They've got him involved early in games the last few weeks. I think they need to continue to go to him. And obviously, like you said, Jay, get that running game, lean on it very heavily, and control the clock a little bit. Try and keep those dangerous quarterbacks on the sideline as much as possible.
Hey, Tim, I'll say this, and I've been saying it for a while. The balance on the wide receiver side is one side with Amari Cooper running, doing all the pass catching. The other 2 guys are just becoming decoys, basically, until you get somebody out there that looks like they're a legitimate threat to at least balance it all. It's going to be a problem. But the other thing I want to ask you this, because you made a statement about Nick Chubb. He ran the ball 19 times yesterday. And Jacoby Brissett, he's the game manager, on the field game manager, right? He should be the one to be able to push back to Stefanski. You send this call in here like, no, let's not do that. Let's keep running Chubb because he's on the field. How many times do you think Nick Chubb should have run that ball yesterday? 19 was his total for the entire game.
I would at least like to see, 5, 6, 7 more carries at minimum. I think you give him the ball as much as you possibly can. The guy's a workhorse, man. It seems like he doesn't get tired out there. He can take the hits. He's so strong and so physical. He's not going to be, he's not going to be one of those guys that tires out in the 4th quarter. I think he's only going to get stronger. And you see guys, they don't want to hit that dude after 4 quarters of trying to tackle him, man. His legs are so strong. You're going to see guys, belling out, not coming up and trying to make those tackles that you saw early in the game. But, I would love to see him get it even more. I think every Browns fan would. You can't give that guy the ball enough. Get it to him in different ways. You don't have to run it every time. You can throw that guy screen passes, whatever. Just get the ball in his hand as much as possible.
All right, Tim. Sorry it was a disappointing Monday. It really puts a damper on everything, but hopefully they can right the ship and get ready for San Diego because they're going to be in for they're going to get all they want against the Chargers. I say San Diego, Los Angeles. Tim Couch, we'll talk to you next Monday. Thanks, brother.
All right, thanks, guys. See you next week.
Tim.
See,
Chargers